Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to AVI Voice interview program. Today, we will continue our discussion from last week, which we will touch upon on the implication of the artificial intelligence and regulation to govern the AI deployment in every industry. And we will continue our discussion with our guest speaker, Dr. Ricardo Corrado, who is an associate professor at the School of Digital Technologies at the American University of Phnom Penh, and he is also a senior research fellow at the Asian Vision Institute AVI. Without further delay, let's get into our discussion. So we know that AI has been used as widely a new tool for people, human, to in their daily life, and it has become a default in every industry and all the workplace. For example, they use it as a new way for their operation. So I would like to know how the impact that AI implicate our everyday activities.
Well, let me. So again, this is an interesting question because it's trying to, that is what usually we always do, right? We try to understand when we have something new, a new tool, a new technology, what is really the impact of it? Once you are able to assess the impact of it, positive and negative, then you have some measure and you can take a decision. Now, this is complicated to measure simply because we are learning and we are developing as we go. But just to give you some numbers that are public number can be seen, they from a study, I think it was 2023, if I'm not mistaken, so I'm a few months later, but 37% of organizations have implemented AI, at least in the United States, 37%. This implementation means that it's implemented in some way. Some people think, okay, if a company or organization have implemented AI, everything is AI fueled, everything is powered by AI. No, it's not true. It's just maybe some implementation, but they are using it somehow. Then another one, statistics show that in the past 4 years, roughly, there was an increase of usage of AI equivalent to 270% growth. So here we are talking about a large growth. And another study, I forgot who did that, but I remember the number, and they say by 2025, 95% of the interaction with customers will be powered by AI, 95. So that means it almost entirely, all the interaction that me as a customer, you as a customer will have with an organization will be actually powered by AI behind. Again, powered by AI doesn't mean that you will talk with an automatic chatbot. It can be also you are talking with people, with a customer service, but the customer service officer will be using AI to facilitate the discussion, to predict what you want or what he or she should say to you, for example, to sell a product or to tell you what you really need or what you really are looking for. So that is quite striking to think that in 2025 is behind the corner, 95% of the interaction with customer will be powered by AI. So there is also other statistics that show how the numbers of, let's say, of the market behind AI, which means market means development, software development, but means also the application of AI in product and services, is reaching astronomical numbers in terms of billions of dollars. You know, when you hear billion, you already don't realize how big it is because we are accustomed to thousand, maybe millions. Billion is already, it's just a lot. But this statistic to me, they show the implication on where we are going in terms of market, and also give another interesting insight. It gives an interesting insight to countries, policymakers, that and also companies, so let's say ecosystem, that if we are not, and when we talk we, I'm talking about governments, I'm talking about organization, I'm talking about even universities. If we are not faster to catch up and to move into adapting with this new way of doing things, we will be surpassed by other people. It can be your competitor in the same market. or it can be someone else in another market that it becomes so fast compared to you that it will step over you entering your market. And for example, from the side of Cambodia, it's very important to have the ability to produce in Cambodia for Cambodians and for outsiders, not just to be a lender where other developed countries can come and invest, because otherwise we wanted to be the producer too. So that is very important, and there, of course, responsibilities on the education sector, on the public sector, etc. So again, I think if we wanted to measure the criticality of the implementation of AI, we can just look numbers and statistics of the market size of the implementation company that have implemented it, how many companies are new startup and companies are growing toward that. You can look also in investments. For example, the stock market, how much a specific market like the Nasdaq has been increasing a lot, means a lot of people invest into it. So that is where we should look in numbers, statistics to understand the criticality of the discussion.
So in this connection, what are the regulatory challenges and legal framework which each state needs to govern AI deployment in various industries? And may you point out the focus scenario of the opportunity and threats?
Sure. So, if this aspect is a very critical aspect and also very complicated. I've talked also with other colleagues, and I've seen also interviews of experts, and you can just look at the international regulatory body of it, and you see that technology is always faster than regulation. And that is the complicated aspect. It's impossible to stay ahead of technology, simply because you cannot regulate what is not yet there. But you can create a guideline. Now, in terms of AI, so again, remember one thing, AI, coming back to what I mentioned before, AI is just the technology, but it's fueled by data. So I think the regulation should be based on data. So what kind of data you use, how can you store, what data you can use, you cannot use, or you should ask permission for it, storage, data privacy. So all these aspects in terms of what we call data governance. That is where the main focus area is. Once you have regulated that, and currently Cambodia is doing that because for what I know, the Ministry of Post and Telecom have many regulations coming on. And the two famous are the one on cybersecurity and data privacy. That is where you need to act quick. And Cambodia is moving in that direction. The other aspect is monitoring and controlling the application. So once you specific amount of data regulate, you have a data governance. Now, what are the applications? So what are the usage you can actually do with this data? And for this, we are not yet there in Cambodia. But to be honest, we are not alone, because even in the world, it's very limited the number of ecosystems that have regulated somehow this. For example, the latest regulation, which is also the newest and the first ever of its type, it come up in European Union. European Union, it's been many consider it, I mean, we can argue about it, but it's been considered very good in regulation. It's always the one leading the way in introducing specific regulation. Example was the GDPR, and now it's the AI Act. It's the first real, to the best of my knowledge, is the first act on attempting to regulating AI and AI application. That was actually introduced in December 2023, if I'm not mistaken, but it should enter in effect, if I'm not mistaken, between May and July of this year. So we are April toward May. So it's going to, that period of months, it should enter and be effective. Once it's effective, means that companies need to comply. Now, just this is looking to this AI Act can be a good lesson. because maybe it will not be perfect, it's the first ever, but from there you can understand the successes and you can understand the limitation of it. But what the approach that the AI Act had was to define what is called tiers of risk, so level of risk. And they define 4 levels of risk, from unacceptable risk to minimal risk. The 4 levels are minimal risk, limited risk, high risk, and unacceptable risk. And depending on which application of AI you have, you can categorize in this level, in these tiers. And then based on that, you have to follow specific guidelines. You as the person or the organization that use this application, okay? So the 2 most interesting are the top high risk, so the unacceptable risk and the high risk. In terms of unacceptable, if that specific application fall under unacceptable, it's banned, so you cannot do it. You simply cannot do it. If it is instead under high risk, you can, but then the different organization will have to comply with specific requirements. Requirements like registering to a database under the European Union, like providing some degree of transparency on the data you store and how you use, be open and available to go under a specific control, a checkup, etc. So yes, you can use this high-risk application, but you will be under scrutiny of the specific body under the European Union that have the job to control you. And then you have the one limited risk and minimal risk, which it's more, just general AI regulation. You comply with the data, and it is considered, is deemed to not be dangerous, to bear minimal risk. So that is a good example, or a starting good example, a step toward regulating AI. The interesting part is to see how each application of AI and future application, because technology advanced, and future application will be categorized under this tier, under these levels. And then based on that, you will have to comply. I would suggest for those interested in learning about regulatory aspect of AI to learn about the AI Act, and also keep monitoring how its implementation develop and how effective it is. And then it will move. But that is a very interesting, I think, lesson and things to check with curiosity to see how it goes.